Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about orthorexia nervosa, which may or not soon be included in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders offered by the American Psychiatric Association. Orthorexia nervosa is not clinically recognized as a disorder yet, but it is gaining momentum as a considerable problem which negatively impacts many areas of individuals' lives. Stephen Bratman is the author of a book called Health Food Junkies, Orthorexia Nervosa, Overcoming the Obsession with Healthful Eating. There are 8 signs that show that your healthy eating might be an obsession, according to his book and some other people who are on this bandwagon. Number 1, you experience guilt. To me, experiencing guilt is natural when you have done something that you feel is not the best for your natural condition. Number 2, you avoid socializing. Here I want to bring in the debate of which is more important, being with people all the time or being well fed all the time. I don't know. Which one? You tell me. I wish to argue that sometimes socialization is not what we need in order to grow. In many instances, we learn the most about ourselves when we are alone and forced to resume responsibility for our lives without assistance. I wish to repeat that I truly mean that only sometimes socialization is not what we need to grow. Sometimes socialization will help us grow and develop enormously, but not all the time. And in a highly populated society such as America, it's hard for me to believe that it would be an easy feat to withdraw from socialization completely on account of having orthorexia nervosa. If an individual with orthorexia nervosa has an occupation within society, he or she is not going to be able to avoid socializing entirely. It's just not going to happen. You have to go to work. You can't avoid people. Unless you work all by yourself and you're locked in the house all the time, in which case I'm sure you have family and friends that want to know you're alive. And if that's not the case, then you're just an extremely unique individual. And if you're a really unique individual with orthorexia nervosa, there's still more that I have to say about you because I'm not entirely convinced that you have orthorexia nervosa. I'm not convinced that anybody has orthorexia nervosa. And I'm going to redefine this term later because I think it is absolutely ridiculous. On top of all this, if you notice yourself not enjoying socialization because you want to eat healthy and others don't, you can always cook a healthy meal for your friends and invite them over. That's what I do, and it works out wonderfully. I have tons of friends, and I have an obsession with eating healthy, and I'm proud of both. Number 3, you obsess over what you eat. Here we go. I hope you would obsess over what is entering your precious anatomy. If you're going to obsess over anything, it should be your physical wellness. Without it, you'll have nothing. Number 4, you are avoiding certain foods. First of all, it's fucking vague, but I hope you are avoiding McDonald's. I hope you are avoiding Burger King. I hope you're avoiding Wendy's. I hope you avoid eating products with high fructose corn syrup. I hope you avoid ingesting aspartame. I hope you avoid that Arby's sausage gravy biscuit. I hate to say it, but I honestly hope that you avoid eating a Cinnabon. But they are good. I hope you avoid Uno's Chicago Grill's mega-sized deep dish sundae, which carries 136 grams of fat and over 2,000 calories, all packed into one delicious dessert, obviously meant for one person. Food like that, in my opinion, should be illegal. Anyway, number 5, You take pleasure in food rules. This is an interesting one to me because I would hope that as a society based upon rules and regulations, that an individual would have pride in their own self-governance. If we can't even regulate ourselves and feel satisfaction with our own judgments regarding our own lives, how on earth can we expect anyone to regulate the lives of anyone else? If taking pleasure in rulemaking is going to be labeled as a disorder, then why don't we call every government law creator and official into question for having orthorexia? After all, ortho stems from the Greek word meaning correct. If an individual is obsessing over doing what he or she thinks is correct, isn't that a trait that we normally regard as virtuous? Number 6, you find breaking your rules stressful. I hate to take it here, but I'm going to, for pure dialectical delight. One of the rules in our society is that you cannot murder anyone. When people murder someone, I assume, unless they felt it was morally just, that they are going to feel some guilt. And either way, guilt or not, the murderer is going to be stressed about the idea that the government might catch up with him or her sooner or later. If an individual is practicing self-governance and self-responsibility and breaks his or her own self-created laws, doesn't it make perfect sense that he or she would feel stressed about the fact that he or she went against his or her own ethical principles? I think we should be applauding people for creating their own ethical principles and abiding by them, because whether or not it ends up hurting them or helping them, it is their decision alone to enjoy a sense of commitment to something which obviously means something substantial to them as an individual. Sorry, I keep rolling my eyes, getting frustrated. Number 7, you don't allow treats. First of all, no one defined what treats was. I don't know if that is like a really intellectual term in the psychology world regarding food, but the subsection of number 7 on this list of signs that your healthy eating might be an unhealthy obsession reads, you completely avoid all or most of the foods that you love eating. If all of the foods an individual used to love eating created a feeling of displeasure or dissatisfaction within them, and consequently led them to a transformation of their diet, maybe what the individual was eating before was simply crap. And now the individual feels he or she has to make up for time lost to crappy, unhealthy foods and is now going to begin a disciplined diet. Once again, the act of discipline, which we as an American society so vigorously defend, is now being perceived as a negative because it revolves around the intake of healthy, nutritional meals constantly. And that's a problem. Number 8, you are constantly thinking about food. I hope you are constantly thinking about food. God damn it. If you aren't thinking about food, which is what every other living being on this planet's lives revolve around, then what are you? Are you even a human? Do you recognize yourself as an animal? Do you recognize yourself as a biological substance? Do you recognize your own anatomy? Do you recognize that you are even alive? Because in order to live, one must consume food. And if you aren't constantly thinking about food, then what the fuck are you constantly thinking about that's more important than food? I hope for the sake of this planet that's either water or nothing. Because if it's not water and it's not food, then you're spending most of your time thinking about something that really isn't worth your time. Don't ignore the simple fact that nutrients sustain this 7 billion plus person population on our planet. And to call obsessing over those nutrients a mental disorder, to me, sounds fucking insane. So I think you, Dr. Stephen Bratman, have a mental disorder. To offer an argument for the other side of this debate, I would like to say that there are many people who have an obsession with healthy eating or refuse to eat fats or unprocessed foods, and it might be leading them to malnutrition or an early death. But the cause of their suffering is not orthorexia nervosa, but instead a common case of foolishness, a common case of ignorance, a common case of unintelligence. If we want to define anything as orthorexia nervosa and be concerned about it, how about we define it as the belief that one is eating healthy foods when one is in fact not eating healthy foods? Thank you for listening.